You're hearing whispers about it, but are you really paying attention? The clash between Justin Trudeau, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump is setting the stage for changes that could dramatically impact your everyday life. From rising prices to shifting political landscapes, this is one story you don't want to miss. If you're not tuned in, you might wake up to a world where things aren't quite as they were before. The time to understand what's happening is now, before it's too late. In recent months, the political landscape between Canada and the United States has become increasingly volatile. President Donald Trump's proposal to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian imports has introduced significant economic uncertainties. In response, Canadian leaders are contemplating countermeasures, including the potential cessation of energy exports to the U.S. Amidst this backdrop, tech entrepreneur Elon Musk has intensified the discourse by publicly criticizing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and aligning himself with Trump's policies. This confluence of political and economic pressures has ignited a surge of nationalism within Canada, leading to public outcry and actions such as the cancellation of substantial contracts with U.S. companies, including a $68 million deal with Musk's Starlink. As these events unfold, it's imperative to grasp how the interplay between these influential figures and their policies is reshaping Canada's political landscape and what it means for the everyday lives of its citizens. Chapter 1. The Musk-Trudeau Conflict. The relationship between Elon Musk and Justin Trudeau has been anything but cordial. Musk's public persona thrives on his criticism of government regulation, especially in the realms of taxation and environmental policy. His posts on X, formerly Twitter, often include scathing remarks about Trudeau, calling him ineffective and claiming he will soon be out of power. Musk's disdain stems from Trudeau's progressive policies, particularly in regard to climate change and corporate taxes. Musk, who built his fortune around the concept of minimal government interference, views Trudeau's regulatory approach as a barrier to innovation. Trudeau's government has implemented policies aimed at reducing carbon emissions and increasing corporate accountability, areas where Musk's companies, like Tesla, might feel burdened by regulation. For example, Canada's carbon tax, which reached $65 per ton of COTWO in 2023, directly impacts industries that Musk supports, like automobile manufacturing and fossil fuels. Musk's companies, which benefit from deregulated markets, may find Canada's tax framework restrictive. In 2024, electric vehicle sales surged by 35%, partly due to governmental incentives, yet Musk's calls for lower taxes and reduced government oversight would likely challenge such progress. If Musk's influence sways Canadian politics, Canadians could see changes like lower corporate taxes, which could lead to cheaper goods but also fewer funds for public services. Consumers could face higher costs for green technologies, as companies might reduce their commitment to environmentally friendly products if the government eases regulations. On the other hand, Musk's business ventures could flourish in a less regulated environment, potentially creating more job opportunities in the tech sector. Chapter 2. Trump's influence on Canadian politics. While Musk's rhetoric is a frequent irritant to Trudeau, Donald Trump's influence on Canadian politics has had a more tangible impact. His presidency was marked by trade wars, particularly the imposition of steel and aluminum tariffs on Canada in 2018. Trump's blunt, nationalistic stance on trade has led to constant friction with Canadian leaders, including Trudeau. In early 2025, Trump announced plans to increase tariffs on aluminum imports from 10% to 25%, aiming to bolster domestic production. This policy change has significant implications, considering that approximately 90% of Canada's steel and aluminum exports are destined for the U.S. market. Trump has repeatedly criticized Trudeau's handling of trade negotiations, famously calling Canada a national security threat, despite being one of the U.S.'s closest allies. His comments on NAFTA, and later the USMCA, United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, alienated Canadians, especially farmers and manufacturers, who faced tariffs on exports. The trade tensions haven't fully abated. Trump's influence can still be felt, especially with his recent comments about potentially making Canada the 50th honest U.S. state, which stirred anger among Canadians. For many, Trump's bluntness represents a dangerous challenge to Canada's sovereignty, especially when paired with his America First approach. Trump's populism could reignite trade wars, which would directly impact Canadians by raising the price of imported goods. Tariffs on Canadian products could increase costs for food, clothing, and electronics, potentially driving up the cost of living. Canada's automotive industry, a key sector with strong ties to the U.S., could face disruptions as trade barriers could escalate. On the flip side, a government influenced by Trump's pro-business stance might lower corporate taxes, which could attract more investment into Canada's oil and energy sectors. While businesses could see benefits, Canadians may face cutbacks in public programs like healthcare or education. Chapter 3. The European Connection. Trudeau's global standing. Despite Musk and Trump's criticisms, Trudeau enjoys significant global support, particularly from European nations. European Council President Charles Michel and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen have consistently praised Trudeau's leadership on issues like climate change, international trade, and human rights. In particular, the Canada-EU Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement (CETA) has opened up lucrative trade routes and helped bolster Canada's standing on the international stage. Agreements like the CETA have facilitated trade, with bilateral trade between Canada and the EU reaching $126.5 billion in 2023. Trudeau's progressive agenda, particularly on climate action, sets him apart from Musk and Trump, whose policies lean toward deregulation. By championing policies such as carbon pricing, Trudeau aligns Canada with other EU member states in advocating for environmental protection. This connection has paid off for Canada, as trade with the EU continues to grow, and Canada has been seen as a key partner in promoting multilateralism. If Trudeau continues to lead, Canadians could see stronger economic relations with Europe, leading to cheaper imports and more tourism. The CETA agreement has already opened markets to Canadian goods, and European travelers might find themselves enjoying easier travel to Canada, boosting the tourism sector. Additionally, green energy policies under Trudeau's leadership could see more subsidies for electric vehicles, solar energy, and wind energy, lowering utility bills and helping Canadians reduce their carbon footprint. Chapter 4. The Petition Against Musk's Citizenship. In response to Musk's vocal interference in Canadian politics, NDP MP Charlie Angus launched a petition to revoke Musk's Canadian citizenship. The petition accuses Musk of meddling in Canadian politics by endorsing Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre and criticizing Trudeau. It quickly gained momentum, reaching over 300,000 signatures within a few days. Recent polls indicate a resurgence of the Liberal Party, with support rising to 38%, closely trailing the Conservative Party at 36%. This shift suggests a volatile political landscape, influenced by both domestic policies and international relations. This petition reflects a broader concern about foreign influence in Canada's political process. For Canadians, the question of whether Musk should retain his Canadian citizenship becomes more than a matter of personal preference. It speaks to the values of sovereignty and nationalism in an age where foreign billionaires wield significant influence through social media and financial power. If the petition succeeds or leads to broader legislative action, it could result in stricter rules for foreigners in Canadian politics, including limitations on corporate donations, lobbying, and social media influence. For Canadians, this could mean less foreign interference in their domestic elections, but it could also lead to more nationalistic policies that prioritize local industries and public services over global partnerships. The conflict between Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and Justin Trudeau is not just a personal rivalry, it is a reflection of the larger global struggle between populism and globalism, nationalism and international cooperation. Musk and Trump's influence on Canadian politics has already begun to shape the country's future, particularly in how it deals with issues like trade policy, environmental regulation, and foreign interference. For the average Canadian, the outcome of this political drama could affect everything from consumer prices and taxation to job opportunities and public services. The growing influence of billionaires like Musk, combined with Trump's populist rhetoric, could push Canada toward policies that prioritize sovereignty and national interests over international cooperation. As this saga continues to unfold, Canadians will face difficult questions about their political future and the role that foreign influence will play in shaping their society. Will Trudeau's progressive vision prevail, or will the influence of Musk and Trump lead Canada down a different path? Job creation, rising costs, or even environmental impacts. These changes are a sign of a much larger shift happening right before our eyes. The road ahead may be uncertain, but one thing is for sure: global energy partnerships are more important than ever, and they will continue to shape our world in profound ways. The world now stands at a crossroads. The decisions made today by governments, corporations, and global policymakers will determine whether this trade war propels economies towards self-sufficiency or drags them into prolonged volatility. One thing is certain: this trade war is not just a battle between two nations, it is shaping the future of global trade as we know it. So, what do you think? Is this economic confrontation a necessary step toward independence, or is it a dangerous game that could lead to long-term economic hardship? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated on the latest developments in global trade, don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth analysis and discussions on the evolving economic landscape.